Welcome to the JAMODI Podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it.
Welcome to the Ballology app Ultimate Demo. Trusted by leaders in the game. Ballology is a player development platform built for coaches and players alike. You can expect live shot tracking, workout libraries, and AI insights. You can easily chart team shooting drills in practice or in training sessions. Track all of those shots using an iPhone or an Android device in real time. You can view your team's performance through a video archive or by using our shot charts. After every shooting workout, take a look at your breakdown by viewing your percentages and your shot locations. Let's take a deeper look to learn how to make the most out of the Ballology app. Let's see how you measure up in the Ballology Skills Assessment, where you can test your shooting skills versus other shooters worldwide. Navigate to Ballology AI, where you can ask any question to get answers in real time for smarter training.
Make that footwork a little more sharp.
Coaches or players can create custom workouts in just minutes. Hit your on-court skills or basketball IQ or even strength and conditioning. It can be done on the Ballology app. Compete with everything you do on the Ballology app through our workout leaderboards. Elevate your game with the Ballology app. Download it for free today.
20 plus years in college coaching now at this point?
Yeah, sounds old when you say it like that, but that's all I heard when you said that.
I didn't mean it that way. You've been doing this forever. No, but 20 plus years and in such a competitive space like college coaching, I would imagine you have some daily habits that set you up for success, kind of keep you motivated, keep you sane. What does that day or morning look like?
Yeah, I think I've always been that way. Even as a player, you have your set routine that you like doing. I think it's just kind of flowed into coaching. But I do think there was a time, I think it was around the pandemic, where you had more time to really settle into a routine. So I think my morning routine, my faith is very important to me. So that quiet time early on in the morning is a start to the day. I need it. But what I started doing during the pandemic was this, I guess, the idea of habit stacking. So I kind of fell in love with the Peloton. And so I'll get on there and I'll, have my quiet time, read a little something, pray, get my mind right. And then that'll bleed into some other things too, whether it's, what's coming up that day, a little to-do list on my phone. I find myself, once I've checked a couple of those things, it's a routine that I do early in the morning before the day gets started. And I've found that I really need it. So that's kind of a preference. But the idea of stacking things, so that what also happened during the pandemic, Coach Lanier is a big walker too. So it kind of was contagious on our staff at Georgia State at the time, but we would walk a lot. And so the walking to me, the idea of stacking things. So, whether it's getting ready for that day's practice, thinking about what I needed to hit, so-and-so with on our team, recruiting what I had to do that day, scheduling. So I tried to just, from the morning routine to maybe like a walk in the afternoon or the evening, to kind of recalibrate. But just those things that I've just found I've fell in love with and I need every day. And if I don't get them, I'm kind of off. And then the other thing is just, I want to say Shaka Smart was the one that I heard do this. But a long time ago, I was at George Mason at the time. He just talked about having a notebook. And that's a habit that, I go in and out of it, but it's not a journal per se, but it's just anything. So every year I have a notebook. And so it's just, you write it, whether it's a quote, a play, a thought, I like this, I don't like that, write it down. And then, I think that's helped me go back every year and kind of review the year, but it helps me just kind of stay grounded throughout the day to day.
I love the idea of habit stacking and great. I try to walk, do a little bit of an incline treadmill, but I don't necessarily get other things done during that time. And so there's an idea that I could probably batch some things, put it together. That's really good. With the notebook, like you, I've kind of gone in and out of journaling. There's a couple on my desk right now. Man, I was watching one show on Netflix about, I think, a bunch of quarterbacks, and Kirk Cousins had this type of graph notebook that he was just going through and pouring through. And I thought about, I'm not a good drawer of plays or courts. It always is crooked or distorted. It's awful. But with the graphing, notebook, I can draw straight lines. And so, but if you look behind me, there's just all these different notebooks over the years. I have no organization to it. Do you have any tips or anything with staying organized? How do you maybe go through and get thoughts down so that when you look back over it, you can actually tell what this is you're looking at?
No, that's great question. So I mentioned Shaka, and I actually happened to be sitting by him this summer, and it was either that or text or somewhere I heard he had mentioned he does the same thing, obviously, and I told him thanks, and I'd heard someone else talking on a podcast. I think it was maybe Mike Morrell. It triggered a thought at some point. So when I told him that, he said he's actually asking his wife, or his wife is helping him transcribe all of his notebooks digitally. So I think that was interesting. And then another friend of mine, Kevin Carroll, the head coach at Lipscomb now, I know uses Evernote. At one point he did, because him and I we're similar in those ways with the notebooks. And I remember him saying the same thing your question was. So I guess to sum it all up, I'm trying to get better like you in organizing it. But what I have found is the note app on my phone. The last couple of years, I've really gotten addicted to that. So like I'll go back and forth with the notebook, but like in real time, I'm on my phone on the note section, and then I'm finding a way to get it to the notebook. And I find that, if you look at this whole, we're basketball junkies. So it's like, if you treat it like a class. And so for me, when I was in school, if I wasn't writing something, rewriting it, I wasn't really learning it either. And so I'm a color coordinated. I need a marker with a different color sometimes. Like that's just how my brain works. So I've found that the notebook combined with my own little quirky way of trying to stay organized. But I'm still working on the master organization, like you're saying, over the years. I'm trying to work on that.
Yeah, Kevin Eastman was talking about his note-taking system and how he pulls from, like, he'll have a book, and the colors made me think of that. He'll have a book, and it'll have all of these tabs with different colors, and then also things highlighted with different colors, and the different colors mean different things. Like, let's just say orange is something he wants to incorporate into one of his presentations. And so then when he's going back through, he has notebooks or sections or note cards from those different things. It's just, I'm always fascinated by those guys that are like Buzz Williams. They're writing a ton of things down. But and then it kind of goes back to the beginning of, like you said, habit stacking and being organized. Because if you're not organized throughout your day, man, all of a sudden it gets to be 9:00 at night. You haven't gotten in the word, you haven't walked, you haven't written anything down, and that day is lost and gone. And so I think you convicted me a little bit to get more organized with it.
No, I think the biggest thing is we all have to find something that works for us. I think that's the key.
Yeah, that's good. You mentioned how you and Coach had been at a few different schools together. And I think this is unique, having this talk with you where I'm at right now of starting over again. You've done that with the same coach a few times. What are some of those maybe action steps or pieces of advice you would give somebody coming into a new situation, new school year, with the experience that you've had doing that?
Yeah, I've been through it. I guess this is my third time with Coach Lanier, and I want to say like 6th or 7th overall under some other coaches. So I think when I combine all of that, I would say every job is different. So like my first year at VMI, that's a military school. My first year at George Mason is different than SMU, Georgia State, now Rice. So I guess depending on the school you're at, what situation you're inheriting and you're walking into, the staff you have around you. I think for Coach Lanier, he brought a lot of us with him from Georgia State to SMU to now Rice. So I think when you have that level of continuity on your staff, I do think that it's easy just to kind of say, hey, go run with this, whatever this is. And I think, if you're a head coach, you have a staff that you can trust with things like that. I think it makes it easier. But I do think there's a level of, from day one, just establishing what are you about? What's the program going to stand for? What are the expectations? And I think the stuff I know you're doing, I do think that there's no secret sauce. It's, are you authentic? Do you have a plan? Is it well thought out? And once you hit the ground running with implementing it, I think the same thing's going to happen. It'll duplicate, the past success you've had with that plan.
The fact that you said every job is different, and it's one of those things that, Coach, I knew that, right? I knew that Midway was going to be different than Grapevine Faith. I knew not only different cities, different sizes, one's private, one's public, but man, I fell into that trap of comparing. And I told Jana just a few days after being down here that, man, I'm comparing hardcore right now to the systems that were already in place after years at Faith, and even different kids, and where these guys are compared to them. And it wasn't fair. It wasn't fair to my players at Midway. It was going to drive me nuts. And so PGC has a great presentation about dropping your comparisons. And I feel like that's been a huge thing for me. And I bet other coaches that have walked in or walking into new situations, and like you have, man, maybe what worked there doesn't work here. And then you nailed it too, tapping into the assistant coaches that are possibly there from before you and using them as a resource. I don't know if I've done that necessarily the best, but that's a good reminder for me.
Yeah, I think, you always have to find that sweet spot of marrying the past to the present and being authentic to you. I just think, your program is always going to be different than the last guys, but as long as you have that level of respect and how you're talking about the previous coach and the previous staff. And I mean, there's an art to that too, to make sure that everyone understands what you're really saying.
No doubt. And it's like coach speak or passive aggressive talk. It's so easy to say things like, well, this is how we're going to do it now. I know you've done it that way before, or I know this. And I think all of that stuff, it just puts players a little bit of an awkward place. And that's not something we want to do. I was watching on YouTube last night, the Warriors have a series that's going out right now, and only episode 1 is out, and I'm blanking on the name of it, but it's going back to the Mark Jackson days and how they built that. And then Steve Kerr, I mean, they were a playoff team, Coach, and they had won 51 games, and they let Mark Jackson go to bring in Steve Kerr, who hadn't coached either. And one of the things that Steve Kerr did was he said, I'm not here to just completely reinvent everything and break what you guys have been doing before. And he had that kind of same approach that you're talking about, always spoke very well about Mark Jackson. And I just think that's a great reminder for us.
Yeah, for sure. I think the longer you coach, the more years like that you're going to go through.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI Podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.